Hello and welcome. In the last lecture we created explosion particles and this dust trail. So in this one I kind of want to polish things up a bit since we're ending with this section of particles. So I want to create some kind of rocky chunks that will fly in random directions when the explosion happens. So to create that, let's go ahead and create a particle system like we usually do. I will name it instantly. Right now I will name it rock chunk. Then I will slap this cloud material onto this. You don't need to use this material for all of your particles. I just use it because, well, I don't have any others. I will set the start color to something that looks like a rock, I guess. Then I will go into emission and I will set rate over time to 0 because it's going to be a single rock. We want a single burst of a minimum value of 1 and maximum value of 1. So there's that guy, a lonely guy. Now the shape can be a cone. Let's just increase the let's set the angle to that. Also, we don't want our particle flying into infinity, so we're going to set the gravity to 1. But like this, he doesn't even get a chance to get seen. So to change that, we can just increase the start speed to something like 10. Let's see. That's a bit too slow. Let's say 20. That's too much. Maybe 15. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, now we're going to add a trail to this. So enable trails, and if we simulate now, you can see it's a really hideous trail, but don't worry, we can set the color to the trail to something like this. And then we're going to set the width of the trail to 0.1, and now it looks really interesting. No, it's not hideous. And set the lifetime to something like 0.2. Yeah, 0.4 should be just fine. Okay, now we have this little guy here. Don't forget to scroll up and set the duration to 0 and looping to false. Now stop that. I'm pretty I like our particles, so I'm going to create a prefab out of him. I'm going to delete him from the scene now, and in our player script I will create a reference to this object. Now I want to create this rock chunk when I'm creating the explosions. So let's type in instantiate rock chunk, and now we usually did transform position. This is just a vector tree that has the which has the x, y, and z value of the player, but we don't want to use those values because, well, I want our rock chunk to collide with the world. So I'm going to go back to Unity and select him and scroll down, and on collision I will enable it and then click on collision and set world. This means that this will collide with everything in the world, and if our rock chunk was created on the same position as the player, it will collide with him, and that will cause a few issues. Well, let's fix some of these settings here. Bounce is set to 1. That means that it will perfectly bounce off of any surface, so we don't want that. It would look like a ball, not a rock chunk. So let's set it to 0.1. Let's set dampen to 0.1 as well. Okay, now let's go back into our script. So instead of transform position, we want a new vector tree, and in here for the x value we want the transform position x of the player. For the y value we want to transform position y of the player, except we will add 2 to it, and for the z we want transform dot position dot z, and the rotation will just be rock chunk dot transform dot rotation. Okay, looks good. Now let's save it, go back into Unity, click on our player, and just drag our rock chunks prefab into the game object slot. Let's play this now. If we hit space, we can see the chunks flying off and hitting the ground. We forgot just to add size over lifetime. Let's add that. Okay. I will just now take the main camera and maybe zoom out a bit. Okay. If I run the game now, we have these rock chunks flying in random directions and hitting the ground. And it looks really nice. I'm pretty satisfied with our outcome. I also want you to notice something. Whenever I spawn these particles, you can see that they're created in the game's hierarchy. Even though these particles have finished their particle business, they're still part of this game. So if your game runs for long amounts of times and you have a lot of these particles, these will start to slow down your game and eventually cause it to crash. We will fix this easily now. I'm going to create a C# script, call it timer, and basically, well, you'll see. We'll just create a timer for each particle, and when the timer hits 0, we will delete that particle. So create a public float timer. We don't need the start method. Update, just say timer minus equals delta time, and if timer is less than or equal to 0, we want to destroy game object. Game object referring to the game object the script is attached to. Now if I click on one of these prefabs and add the timer to it, I will have this timer parameter. So if I say that I want the explosion to last for 3 seconds, I can put in 3 there, and explosion dust. Maybe I want that to last 4 seconds. Ground pound. Maybe 4 seconds as well. Rock chunk. Whoop. Maybe 3 seconds. So now if I play the game, and if I start creating tons of particles, you will see in a few seconds that they're getting deleted. So yeah, now our game isn't going to be filled up with useless game objects. I want to thank you guys for watching this section of these cartoony particles. If you have any recommendations or requests for particle tutorials, please send us a message, and we'll definitely update this course with new particle tutorials. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next lecture.